Hey, you like Christmas? No? That's okay. Happy holidays anyway. I love Christmas movies though, sort of, like begrudgingly, I guess, and only some of them. Truth be told, I'm fairly certain that the scent of annual royalties lures in the most opportunistic players in this industry who will just churn out peppermint-flavored corn syrup candy cane movies without even thinking about it. Merry Christmas, by the way. Trash notwithstanding, sitting down with the fam, if you're lucky enough to have a cool fam, baking some cookies, secretly smoking a bowl out back, and putting on some festive films is a great way to will yourself into the holiday spirit. Or, you know, like, just actually, genuinely, sincerely feel festive. Or maybe even cry. Go on, you've earned it. Cry. The best of these films aren't tied down by genre, but strongly feature themes and motifs like the power of familial bonds and found family, hope, acceptance and the ability to change, altruistic generosity, and I don't know, if nothing else, can be kind of cathartic and grounding to simply enjoy a story where those are the focal points. Also, these movies tend to end on a high note, which can be comforting and reassuring, and sometimes you just owe yourself that much in life, even if it's temporary. Also, there will be no Jesus here. I don't really care for that. I'm more into Christmas as a secular celebration of light gift-giving and warmth, and Saturnalia, Yule, and the winter solstice originated many of the best parts of Christmas anyway, so yeah, don't be crying about there not being enough Jesus in the comments, please. Obviously, we're gonna do 10, or more, I don't know, plus some honorable mentions, but these are in no particular order. These are just recommendations. Some are pretty traditional, others are cult classics, whatever that means these days. And number 10 will shock you. Also, I don't know if all of these are readily available. I only have my parents' Netflix subscription, but they are all on the internet, if you catch my drift, and I think you do. Treat yourself to a VPN. And yeah, you're right, this would be a really good time for an ad read. Like and subscribe, jingle the bell, donate to my Patreon if I ever make one. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas is from 1977, doesn't waste your time in a very manageable 48 minutes, and also, how are these puppets singing on a moving boat? What kind of sorcery is this? I can, of course, only see out of my own eyes, but this film slash TV special slash, I don't know, I'm not gonna look it up, Merry Christmas, just has nostalgic vibes all the way through, you know? Like, look how hokey and old and innocent it is. This film is like a stuffed animal that you can never love in the same way that you did as a child, and similarly, it is just so cute. The Sound of Music is a fantastic musical and a fantastic film. If you Google, why is The Sound of Music a Christmas movie, you'll see a quote that says, "The themes of family and renewal are why The Sound of Music, just like Die Hard, is a Christmas movie staple." That's not really true. It became a Christmas staple by being a banger of a family movie that was broadcast by various TV networks annually around Christmas time, was already fondly remembered by audiences by virtue of being popular and good, and shitting on Nazis, and I don't know, if the BBC was going to keep this film airing in the event of a Cold War era nuclear attack, then it's got to be like at least a little bit worth remembering. Luckily, as noted, this film is gas. Like, it's old, but it's got that old-timey spectacle, a lot of heart, undeniably great performances from everyone, including the children, and the only reason it's an honorable mention for me is because you've probably already seen it, or it's already been recommended to you, in which case I just watch it already. In a similar vein, Die Hard. This used to be kind of a gotcha Christmas movie to recommend because although it does take place at Christmas, it isn't especially Christmassy, and I know at least one person is going to want to take me up on that in the comments, so please feel free to do so. Please. Please. But yeah, it's a 90s action movie, and if Bruce Willis hasn't been canceled or otherwise exposed as a shitty person, you have my blessing to force your family to watch Die Hard again. Although, maybe hit them with the holiday special of the Great British Bake Off, you know, keep them on their toes, might be funny. Little Women doesn't take place exclusively at Christmas, but a good little chunk of it does, and I can't think of another time I'm gonna get to recommend it. And a bunch of people have been introduced to Greta Gerwig through Barbie, so yeah, you have my blessing to watch Little Women this Christmas. Also, fuck it, watch Lady Bird too, I think that has a Christmas scene. The Night Before is kind of okay if you don't find Seth Rogen's output tired and predictable, or if you just want to have something on while you smoke with the homies, you are valid. A Charlie Brown Christmas is a classic. I will hear no more on the subject, and it undoubtedly has one of the best and most influential Christmas scores of all time. It's absolutely one of my favorite things to listen to at Christmas. It's a cute watch, but also, again, you've probably already seen it. Obligatory It's a Wonderful Life mention. It's good. I do like it, but I'm trying to establish a modicum of credibility here, and I don't think I'm really going to get that if I don't recommend you some stuff that you're not really expecting. Plus, it's like recommending salt. And finally, Spencer will not be for everyone, but it is very good. It's well written, directed, acted, edited, shot, just all of the things, really. The sound design's probably really good too. And I find the psychological drama and the pressure Diana is under to be exceptionally compelling, personally. Most of all, this film's just got a deliciously oppressive atmosphere, and it's a really convenient excuse to shit on rich people, if that's what you're into. And, you know, God willing, I hope that's what you're into. I had not watched Arthur Christmas prior to deciding to make this list, which I actually started in 2020, but I had heard about how good it was from a lot of different people. And in fact, it slaps pretty hard as far as Christmas movies go. It's got a good script, an energetic pace, a great voice cast, it's an Aardman joint, and overall, it just wears its heart on its sleeve. Basically, a child's present wasn't delivered, and Arthur, the current Santa's second son, makes it his mission to deliver it. There's a familial comedy of manners going on between Santa's past, present, and future as well, with ego being the main source of conflict, which is great. Putting others first is what Christmas should be all about, and Arthur is the platonic form of that idea. Also, I really don't feel like I can go any further without addressing this. The characters are kind of hideous, okay? I know. However, I gotta say, this film does kind of an incredible job of overriding its own modern cynicism with determined levity, which is to say, it feels like an Aardman film. Very sincere, doesn't overstay its welcome. I cry every time, and there's some real good stuff about olds letting the younger generation take over. Can't imagine why that feels relevant. That said, I don't think the goofball energy of this movie is gonna move the needle for some of you, so let me ask you something. You gay? Great! Then I've got one for bookish, rich East Coast lesbians and one for messy, poor West Coast trans folks. Carol is a bit of a downer and a little slow, but sometimes you just need to watch something that gets how cold, complicated, and distant everything can feel at Christmas. That isn't the entire movie, of course. It's actually very romantic. The way these characters look at each other and the joy you can see on their faces just from getting to be around each other. It's really quite lovely. To be fair, who wouldn't melt a little at a waspy 1950s Cate Blanchett smiling at you? And to be even more fair, this film is kind of devastating. The production design is great, the directing is diligent and thoughtful and often really gentle, and the acting is subtle and embodied. It's fucking Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara, like what else would you be expecting here? And actually, I'm pretty sure any technical aspect of this film I can name is pretty exceptional, and yeah, obviously it's gratifying to see a well-made film at any time of the year, but Christmas is a good enough excuse to whip this one out again. The subtleties of how these characters' attraction develops, given the complications of their own lives, makes the brief time they have together feel beautiful and tragic. And if that's what you're in the mood for and haven't seen this one yet, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas Eve, bitch.
Tangerine, on the other hand, is kind of the opposite of all that, and it fucking rips. Like, look at it. This is clearly some very raw filmmaking, but god damn, is there some good direction here. This movie's got a pace, it's got jokes, it clearly knows exactly what it is, and it's incredibly messy, but it is so heartfelt. I kind of just love it. There are a few converging storylines between two trans sex workers and a cab driver, and if I had to state a dominant theme, I'd probably say something like the fungibility of love and relationships, but I'm not trying to write a paper here. This is another one where Christmas is not the specific focus of the film, and is instead used ostensibly to highlight the irony of conflict occurring at such a supposedly joyous time. Many of my favorite Christmas movies do this, though others treat synthesis with the Christmas spirit as an endpoint to push a character toward. That is absolutely not the goal of this film, but the fact that it does resolve in that framework does give it a very satisfying conclusion. Although the genuine expression of positive emotion, atonement, and at least temporarily quashed cynicism are not the ultimate goal of Tangerine, they are the heart and soul of this next film.
How many nights do you lie?
So as far as I'm concerned, Klaus is a modern classic. Like, despite the fact that it is very Christmas-centric without leaning too much on cliches, it is undeniably one of the most ambitious Western 2D animated films to come out in years. I know that's a lot of qualifiers, but like, please just stay with me here. It's also beautiful. The movement of these characters, the crooked look of the ramshackle town, the lighting, the harmonious blending of 2D and 3D animation, it's all just so good. As far as I'm concerned, and I really doubt this will be a controversial statement, Klaus is right up there with the Spider-Verse films and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish in terms of pure visual appeal in recent Western animated film. And it didn't even have to alter character frame rates. In any case, I also find it incredibly heartwarming. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who weren't wowed by the story, which is fair, I guess, but I think it has a jaunty enough pace that it never feels like anything is being dwelled on too long or too little, which is an incredibly difficult balance to achieve. And it's just really easy to watch. Also, I think the way this film canonizes the Santa mythos within its own world is really cute. Bad children getting coal, Santa's apparent moral omniscience, the 8 reindeer. I think these little interjections are cleverly done, and along with the Sami child stuff, give the actual plot a little more time to breathe, which can go a really long way, and it does. Additionally, this film feels close to perfectly cast. Jason Schwartzman is a little weasel with heart, J.K. Simmons hits that imposing bassy vocal range that slowly becomes really bright and hopeful once the character opens up. Norm Macdonald and Rashida Jones are standouts too, but considering the latitude for failure there is for celebrity voice acting, every character, including the children, feels incredibly well realized through vocal performance, which is not nothing. If you somehow haven't seen this film already and don't want to take my word for it, it has a ton of accolades behind it, and yeah, just kind of a joy to watch, easy to recommend to anyone with some joy left in their heart. But by contrast, first off, if you love film and haven't seen Satoshi Kon's work yet, fix that. This man was taken from us far too early, and Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, Paranoia Agent, and Paprika aren't going to be for everyone, but they are fantastic. Treat yourself to a kind of editing that is probably only possible in animated media. Anyway, as an offbeat comedy drama, Tokyo Godfathers is an outlier in Kon's body of work, but it feels like it has effortlessly become a part of the Christmas film canon. Fans of the film will tell you this is because of the depth of humanity found in its characters Gin, Hana, and Miyuki, an alcoholic gambler, a trans woman, and a teenage runaway respectively. These characters are deeply, undeniably troubled people. Additionally, they're homeless, and on Christmas Eve they find a baby abandoned in the trash. I hope it doesn't sound gross to say that that's a great setup, because it is. Each character sees this baby differently, and in spite of their circumstances, the need to rescue a defenseless infant brings out the best in all of them. The importance of family and what a family looks like to different people are really at the core of this film, and the degree to which it seems to understand and reinforce those as essential qualities of Christmas along with hope is just really, really special. If you want a Christmas film that undeniably comes from a unique perspective but has an exceptional grasp on the fundamentals of the holiday, this movie's for you. Brazil is just a masterpiece, full stop. It's up there with Citizen Kane, Seven Samurai, 2001, 8.5, fucking Hereditary? I don't know. What do people like these days? The Bluey movie? Is that a thing? Anyway, this is another one that is distinctly not a Christmassy Christmas movie. The events of the film take place over Christmas, but it's mostly a fact of the setting that enhances the alienation. Like, besides the fact that the film takes place in some indistinct, steampunky VHS retro future bureaucratic nightmare city, it may as well also just be at Christmas. Like, this film is seriously so cynical that Christmas is basically only ever used as a punchline. In any case, it goes without saying that the production design here is simply fantastic. Like, look at this shitty, emasculating car. Look at these tubes. Look at the oppressive brutality of this prison-like office space. But the cinematography is also quite special. In many cases, it can feel claustrophobic and distorted, but in general, it just does a great job of capturing the surreality and inhumanity of the setting. At this point, I may have done a very bad job of not overhyping this film. You should not go into it expecting the world or for it to change your life or anyone else's. However, it is the kind of film where this line garners this reaction, and I think that says a lot.
Care for a little necrophilia?
I'm not going to spend too long on this because most people watching this are probably already aware of it, but I really think you should watch the Rankin Bass Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer if you haven't already. This plays in reruns every single year. Apparently it's the longest running something. Here's the Wikipedia screenshot. Point being, if aliens or the next dominant species on this planet somehow discover what Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is, it will probably be through this film. And it's free on YouTube, so ease of use is pretty high. Honestly, I would probably recommend almost everything in the honorable mentions first, but I also watched it alone in my room in November. It's probably still just fine if it's on the TV in the background if you're hanging out with friends and family at Christmas. I bet it's even a comfort to a lot of people. That said, in the interest of including some other dubious niche or skippable recommendations, Welcome to the bargain bin. I don't know, we're just, it's just a bunch of whatever. You can watch them or don't, I don't care. I didn't finish watching Krampus, but it is a horror comedy set at Christmas if that's something you're looking for. I only made it halfway through though. The script felt mediocre, but you know what? I believe Rare Exports is also a Christmas horror movie, but I haven't seen it and I certainly don't have time for it right now. Violent Night was recommended to me by the person who designed this lovely border to help me avoid the YouTube copyright nonsense. Their name is NIDS. You should commission them to draw a bunch of stuff for you. I have no idea how the movie is. I haven't watched it. It's got David Harbour in it. All That Heaven Allows has some Christmas stuff in it. You ever seen a Douglas Sirk domestic melodrama? You want to watch a MILF fall in love with a hunk in 1950s suburban America? I promise it's more interesting than that sounds. This is peak melodrama pre-reality TV, and it still goes really pretty hard. The Sound of Music again, baby! What can I say? It's a classic, it's nice and long, it's broad enough that you don't have to pay attention to it that well, and if you're already familiar, you can dip in and out as you make cookies or something. Easy recommendation. Momotaro's Sea Eagles isn't even close to Christmas related, but I did watch it when I was trying to find something interesting to write about Rudolph. Did you know that because the animation director of many of the Rankin Bass stop-motion films, Tadahito Mochinaga, graduated from school and began his career in World War II Japan, he also did backgrounds and VFX on Japanese propaganda films? Apparently he regretted doing this for a number of reasons, and yeah, I think that's appropriate, and fled to Manchuria under fear of prosecution for being a propagandist from the incoming American occupation. Eventually, he returned to Japan years later, whereupon he started his work with Rankin Bass. Isn't history fascinating? Also, if you think you're immune to propaganda, feel free to tell me how much you hated Top Gun Maverick in the comments section below. And hey, you want to see someone basically perfectly replicate the Rankin Bass style in Blender? Watch. This is just on YouTube, and I'll put up a link in all the places, but more to the point, I've been a big fan of WORTHIKIDS for a really long time, so I'm really happy to be able to recommend their stuff. Seriously, dude, I love these animations. The occasional uploads of music are very much my vibe, and Big Tom Burker is just simple and great and weird, and I love it. Anyway, that's it for the bargain bin. Let's get back to the list. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is just one of my favorite movies generally, which is not to say I think it's one of the best films ever made, but it is very good. And I actually kind of have an unreasonable attachment to this film, if I'm being honest, because it's a piece of media that I took a chance on with my own money when I was young, and it turned out to be great. I cannot detach the joy of discovering what the piece of media is from my appreciation of it. Like, there is absolutely nothing better than falling in love with something you didn't even know about and had no expectations for. More to the point, I have wanted to make Kiss Kiss Bang Bang happen as a Christmas movie staple for 15 years, people. Let's make it happen. It's also a black comedy, features Robert Downey Jr. post-drug abuse but pre-Iron Man, Val Kilmer in basically the prime of his career, and absolutely relentlessly dresses down Los Angeles at virtually every opportunity it gets.
I do a little acting.
Also, in a similar vein to Brazil, the film taking place over Christmas draws attention to the innate phoniness of the setting where it takes place. Nothing you will see referencing Christmas in this film feels genuine or warm. It's all just affectation, just like LA. I'm grouping The Snowman and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 1966 version, together for a few reasons. They're both half-hour TV specials. They both strongly stylistically resemble animated children's books. They are both iconic in this body of media, and probably a fourth thing as well. The Snowman is already a cultural touchstone in the UK, and besides reruns and at least 2 generations growing up with it, it's not hard to see why. This film feels personal, handmade, and the runtime makes it very digestible. Also, it has no dialogue, which is always an impressive feat that speaks volumes about the quality of visual storytelling in any work. And speaking of visual storytelling, it probably goes without saying that colored pencils are a very unique medium to work in that helps this film stand out amongst its contemporaries. This is also one of my mom's favorite Christmas movies. She loves to decorate with snowmen over the holidays, so I imagine part of my reverence for this film comes from happy memories of sitting with my family enjoying something simple over the holidays. Which is to say, if you'd like something simple to enjoy with your family, with an earnest, expressive, and memorable music music score, look no further. Unless you'd like a second film that is just as Christmassy, childlike, and iconic, but has a fairly contrasting tone and visual style, in which case, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, I realize that as long as you aren't on your phone or something while watching this, it will be obvious which version I'm referring to, and if you're a fan of the one with Jim Carrey or the Illumination one, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. However, I want to make the case that the 1966 version is peak for a few reasons, but only one that's actually important. This story does not need an hour and a half to say what it needs to say. I will grant you that Jim Carrey does an impressive job with the character. I can't think of another actor who could match the cartoonish aesthetic of the film and performance, but he does. It's genuinely larger than life. That said, how many people actually want to see a cartoon character in live action? I'm not going to make a list of exceptions right now, but I will say that the nose situation with these human Whos is disgusting. I don't know where these prosthetics fall in the uncanny valley for you, but I hate every single Who in this movie. I hate the baby Grinch puppet, and I hate this man kissing a dog's anus. Fucking gross. As for the Illumination version, I can't even really say I hate it, but I feel nothing watching it, and I feel like that says more. Brevity isn't the only thing going for the 1966 version, though.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
This inconceivably crooked and nefarious smile, the heel turn where he lifts the sleigh, these all come from this version of the material, and once again, it doesn't waste your time. Like, you get it, he's lonely, his shitty neighbors are being really noisy, but actually secretly, like, you know, he just wishes they would invite him over for dinner, you know? Bigfoot just wants you to invite him out to dinner. A half hour is fine, you know, it's fine. It's fine. It's great. In Bruges is incredibly idiosyncratic. It's very tightly written, despite what seems like a lot of faffing about at the start. It's often quite crass, but it's just as often thoughtful. It's about people who kill people killing themselves, and it's at Christmas. Unlike other films on this list that seem to incidentally take place at Christmas, I don't really have any suggestions as to why this one does. Writer-director Martin McDonagh started his career in theater, so I'm sure there could be a very relevant, layered reason, but I'm making a top 10 list here because it's easy, so I'm not going to look into it. Coincidentally, though, it is easy to recommend McDonagh's other works. 7 Psychopaths, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and The Banshees of Inisherin, which also features Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson in leading roles, are all great and have similar comedic and dramatic sensibilities. It has to be said that Farrell and Gleeson play off each other really well in Bruges, though, with one being an immature, impulsive little fella, and the other being a thoughtful, patient, practical adult. The characters comedically foil each other, and when Ralph Fiennes gets involved, the cinematography, script, and atmosphere are great though, and if your dad is cool and smart and wants to take a break from the really festive stuff, there's a good chance he'll enjoy watching this with you. Like, this movie's got some jokes. I laugh every time I watch this, and again, the Christmas vibes are very muted. Give it a little try, why not? Treat yourself. As we reach the end of this list, I want to state in no uncertain terms, and in spite of what I have said already, that there is no movie that is wrong to watch at Christmas. Whatever films help you relax, connect with family and friends, feel festive, or again, relax, is a movie that is worth your time and attention. However, there is only one unequivocally right film to watch at Christmas, and it's The Muppet Christmas Carol, baby! It was probably inevitable that some version of the Dickens classic would appear somewhere on this list, but The Muppets iteration is, to me, undeniable. As far as I'm concerned, this film is basically a way to test whether your heart has turned to stone or not. Like, this movie is genuinely cinematic, and I don't care if anybody looks at me sideways for saying that. Let me just say some stuff that needs to be said real quick. Michael Caine is perfectly cast as Scrooge, and the realism and humanity he brings to his performance, and the degree to which he takes the Muppets seriously, elevates the material immensely. Like, you have to have some serious gravitas to be a human actor carrying a film filled with characters that look like this, but Caine does, and he makes it look easy. Caine's Scrooge also feels less humorously pathetic than what you may have seen in other versions. Even though the source material is notoriously dreary, the presence of the Muppets livens things up so much that Caine feels allowed to be even more earnest and imposing. Also,
oh, there goes Mr. Humbug! There goes Mr. Grim!
The Muppets. The amount they punch up the tone of this Christmas classic cannot be understated. With Gonzo and Rizzo providing color commentary and narration, there is virtually no dead air in this film. The presence of these characters makes this version of the material so much more ethereal, welcoming, foreboding, seedy, cute, comical, and pitiful, and all of those add a tremendous amount of nuance to the tone of the piece. There's more I could say. I could talk about the songs, the production design, the cinematography, but you get the idea. This is an important movie to me, and as you might have guessed, it has been for a long time. I think what I value most about the film, though, is that it really seems to get the Christmas spirit, which makes sense. Committing to the frivolous, heightened reality of the Muppets requires a similar emotional muscle to intentionally cultivating joy during what is, factually, just another time of the year. It requires a suspension of the self to celebrate and believe in the magic of the Muppets and Christmas, but it feels good to do so, for you and those around you. After all, as the Ghost of Christmas Present sings,
it's true wherever you find love, it feels like Christmas.
oh my god, that is so schmaltzy. I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry. This is gonna absolutely ruin my chances for not getting copyright claims. Anyway, that's the list. I hope you found something on there to sink your teeth into, or just hop on if you, need something to watch during the holidays and you're just hanging out, or you can't get in the mood, you're feeling a little Charlie Brown. Yeah, just, go on, get out of here. I love you. Goodbye. Merry Christmas. Mwah. Good night. I love